Hey, it's Nate with another piano tutorial. Today we're doing She's Got Away by Billy Joel. This one was a request, and I'm going to show you how to do the beautiful piano accompaniment so you can play an awesome sounding cover of it. I'll show you a quick preview of how it will sound, and then we'll get right into the lesson. She's got a light around her, and everywhere she goes, a million dreams of love surround her everywhere. Okay, so one thing I want to get out of the way right at the beginning is we're going to be playing it in the key of G. Now, it's not going to match up with the recording because on the recording it sounds like it's somewhere between G and F sharp. I believe he actually played it in F sharp, but that happens sometimes, especially with older recordings if it was recorded to tape and there was some variation in the tape speed when it was mastered. So whether you do it in F sharp or G, it's not going to quite match up with the studio version, and it's way easier to play in the key of G. So that's how I'm going to do it. So we'll start out with the intro, and I recommend getting the chords and lyrics chart. I put a link down in the description. That'll help you follow along and see where the chords line up with the words. But here's the intro. It's just two measures of G major. We're gonna do it there. So here's middle C for reference, and it's just G, B, and D. And it's just for two measures. We're in 4/4 time, so that means each measure gets 4 counts, kind of a nice slow. And we're just gonna pulse quarter note chords on each count. So the intro is gonna sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and again 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're into the verse. She's got a way about her. So let's do it. Here's the chord progression for the verse, and I'm going to teach it through the way I like to play it, and then I will give you a couple little adjustments to make it a little bit easier if necessary. So it starts on this G. Same G we were just doing. The difference is we're going to start adding bass notes with our left hand. I'm going to do octaves for now. So G, G, we're going to just play the note the chord is named after, or the bass note if there's a slash chord, for instance. The next chord is a D over F sharp. So the bass note is going to be an F sharp. And I'm going to take my right hand, and I'm going to keep my pinky on D, and then move my thumb to F sharp, and my second finger to A. So there's that D over F sharp chord, F sharp, A, D. Next, we're going to move down to an E minor. So left hand's going to be on E octaves. Right hand's going to do just a regular root position E minor chord, all white keys, E, G, and B. This next one's really cool sounding, the G7 over D. So the note after the slash is the bass note. So we're stepping our left hand down to the D. In the right hand, we're going to keep our pinky, third, and second fingers where they are, and we're going to play all three of those. And we're going to move our thumb down to a D. And so that's going to be D, F, G, and B in the right hand. I'll play that through so far. Notice that all those chords were dividing measures in half. So 2 chords squeezed into a measure of 4/4 time. Each one gets 2 counts. I'm going to keep just doing that steady quarter note rhythm in the right hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. With the singing, of course, that's she's got a way about her. Let's keep going. Next measure is a full measure of C. I don't know what it is. So that's just a regular old C major chord, all white keys. We're doing C here, C, E, G in the right hand. I don't know what it is. This next measure is a little bit of a doozy. We've got kind of a new thing every count. Let's actually do the left hand first. So the first count of this measure is going to be D. Next we've got C over E. So left hand's paying attention to what's after the slash. So that's E. D over F sharp. Left hand does F sharp. And then back to D. So you're just kind of stepping up from D to F sharp and jumping back down to D. But I know that I can't live without her. Now for the right hand, for this first D here, I'm going to do an inversion on a D. And it's going to be A, D, and F sharp here. Now for the C over E, again, left hand steps up. The right hand's just going to do a C, just like we were doing. C, E, G. Then for this D, when the left hand goes to the F sharp, we're just going to do a root position D. D, F sharp, A. And then we're going to keep our right hand where it is, but on this one, we're only going to do the bottom 2 notes. It might seem kind of weird. The reason why he does that is the ear gravitates towards the highest note you hear. So by changing up what the top note is for the chord, it kind of creates this little melody. Na, 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 na. So that's why we just do the 2 notes at the end there, so the F sharp can be the melody note. Anyway, I'm just going to loop that a few times. And if it feels like this is a little too tricky to do the jump down all the way there, you can totally just do a root position D chord the whole time. I would just, for that first one, just do the 2 notes so that we can get F sharp. So this would be the easy version for the right hand. Gonna play and sing through that whole line. She's got a way about her. I don't know what it is, but I know that I can't live without her. Then it loops around, so the times 2 does that line twice. Notice that I just kind of grow a little louder on the know that I can't live without her. And then when you loop it around, you can kind of pull back again. And by the way, if your hand has trouble stretching an octave, you could totally do this with just single bass notes, probably in the lower octave. Just stepping down from your thumb to second finger. It still sounds really good. It's just doesn't quite have the same thickness as doing the octave, but that is a good option if you struggle with the octaves. Okay, so after it goes around that line a second time, we have this really cool chord, the anyway. Such a nice moment. That chord kind of really is surprising. It's stepping outside of the key a little bit, and then that also a beautiful chord. So this is going to be the E flat major 7. You've just been on a D octave here, so we're just stepping it up a half step, just realizing that can help make this somewhat tricky change a little easier. And then the right hand notes is going to be B flat, D, and a G. So first, second, fifth finger there. Anyway, and it's just 2 counts of that. And then for the F9, of course, the bass notes needs to step up to the F. We're going to keep our right hand on G and just move these 2 fingers down to an A and a C. So again, anyway. And then we go back around for the second verse. She's got a smile that heals me. One more thing I want to mention is I'm holding down the sustain pedal this whole time. That's why it sounds as smooth as it does. Just doing little lifts every time I change the chord. If you need help with pedal lift, timing, and coordination, I made a video all about that. But this verse is the same as the first verse, except at the very end, you'll notice that there is a G, a measure of G. I put a little asterisk on it because there's this cool melody. It sounds like this. So it's actually a lot easier than it sounds when you hear it on the recording. It sounds like this kind of fancy piano moment. But all you're doing is, in kind of a G chord position. So hit the G bass note in the left hand. I'll probably just do a single bass note here rather than the octaves because it's getting a little low. And then in the right hand, you're just going to play G, A, B, D. Then you're just going to jump your hand up an octave and do the exact same thing, still holding down that left hand note. G, A, B, D. Timing-wise, we need to be thinking in eighth notes. So we're dividing that beat, that quarter note pulse in half instead of just 1, 2, 3, 4. We're thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're just placing those notes on each one of the eighth notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and using the sustain pedal, just holding it down through that whole moment really helps tie it all together. Final thing I want to say before going to the chorus, now that we've talked about eighth notes, one thing I might do is just add a little bit of extra rhythm in the left hand. Probably not on the first verse, but as the song kind of develops a little bit, just to add a little bit more energy. The timing there is going to be 1, 2, and 3, 4, and probably won't do it every time, but you can just kind of throw that in right before each chord change. Just gives it a little bit more movement. Also, at the end of the intro, after the 2 measures of G, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2. There's just a little anticipated bass note right before the verse drops. Not super important, but it's there in the recording, and I will probably do it, so I wanted to mention it. All right, so we just have one other section to learn, and that is the chorus. Here's the chord progression for it. One thing to note is I am just going to do single bass notes in the left hand. I am not going to do any octaves. Makes it a little simpler. So it starts out with a D major. We're going to do it like that in root position, D, F sharp, A. So it's 2 counts on that. I just have my thumb on the D here. Then we've got this A minor. Our pinky can stay on that A, so we're going to do an inversion and just do C and E here with first and second finger. My 4th finger was already hovering over that A, so I just dropped that down. So 2 counts of that. And then we can just step this shape down exactly as is to B, D, and G, and then in the left hand just step down to the pinky. That's going to be our G major for 2 counts. Then we just got to make that minor, so the B is going to turn into a B flat. 2 counts there. Let's keep going. We've got this D. Now this time, we've been kind of moving down. For this D, we're actually going to do an inversion like that. And that's the inversion that we did in the verse at the beginning of that complicated moment. So that's A, D, and F sharp. Going back to the thumb here. Now we've got this F sharp over B flat. Our 3rd finger is already kind of hovering over B flat in the left hand. So that's our bass note. And then we've got a B flat, a D flat, and an F sharp. I'm mixing the sharps and flats because I think that's probably what my keyboard display is telling you. Let me just go back on that. D, 2, A minor, 4, G, 2, G minor, 4, D, 2, F sharp over B flat, 4. Now just 2 more chords for this section. B minor, 2, so that's going to be, of course, I'm going to play a B there in the left hand, and that's B, D, and F sharp, 2, and then D7 over A. This is a really similar voicing to the G7 over D we did, but we're just kind of stepping down into it. We've got an A in the left hand, an A C, a D, and an F sharp in the right hand. And just notice how smooth of a transition that is from the B minor. Your pinky and 3rd finger can just stay on the note that they were just playing. So it just stays there, 2 counts of that before going back to the next verse. I'm gonna just sing through that whole chorus. She comes around when I'm feeling down, inspires me without a sound. She touches me and I get turned around. She's got away. So that would be verse 3. One other thing is at the end of that chorus, he kind of slows down a little bit. And I get turned around. You can kind of drag out this moment and then kind of land back in the verse. So yeah, the next verse is just like the second verse, so it ends with that before going into another chorus. Now, this second chorus starts out just like the one we just learned. There's just one little additional thing tagged on the end of it before going to the last verse. So I'll show you that. So we go through, here's the chorus 2 chord progression. We go through just what we just learned. And then there's this little moment where it basically does the beginning of a verse, but an octave down. So it's going to sound like this. I'm just going to use single left-hand bass notes. I'm not going to do the octaves here. It's going to be G, 2, D over F sharp, 2, and then an E minor 7. So instead of going down there like we would in the verse, we're going to keep the right hand basically playing a G chord while the left hand just steps down to the E bass note. So... and this part, he really kind of slows down. So E minor 7. So a couple weird things here. Notice it's a measure of 2/4 time. So you're only on that E minor 7 for 2 counts before it goes back to the final verse. But also, on the second count, he actually does that. So rather than hitting the the G chord in the right hand twice. You're going to hit it once, and for the second beat, you're just going to do the top pinky note, the D, and an A. So technically that's like an E minor 7 with a sus4, but I just put the asterisk and figured I would just explain it. So we really slow down there and then go up to the final verse. Let me play that whole chorus through because there's a little bit of singing over that part we just learned. She comes to me when I'm feeling down, inspires me without a sound. She touches me and I get turned around. Oh. She's got a smile that heals me. So we're in the last verse now. Nothing new to learn, really. We just go through that verse, and it ends with just on the E flat major 7. There's no F9 or anything beyond that. So we get, but I know that I can't live without her anyway. And then the song is over. Okay, thank you for sticking with me. I'm going to do a full cover now so you can see how these parts flow together in the entire piece. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and have a look around my channel. You might find some other songs you're interested in. If you don't, or if you just have a song you're dying to hear, leave a request in the comments. And as I said, this one was a request. Anyway, here's my version of She's Got Away. She's got a way about her. I don't know what it is, but I know that I can't live without her. She's got a way of pleasing. I don't know what it is, but there doesn't have to be a reason. Anyway, she's got a smile that heals me. I don't know why it is, but I have to laugh when she reveals me. She's got a way of talking. Don't know what it is, but it lifts me up when we are walking anywhere. She comes to me when I'm feeling down, inspires me without a sound. She touches me and I get turned around. She's got a way of showing how I make her feel, and I find the strength to keep on going. She's got a light around her, and everywhere she goes, a million dreams of love surround her everywhere. She comes to me when I'm feeling down, inspires me without a sound. She touches me and I get turned around. Oh, she's got a smile that heals me. I don't know why it is, but I have to laugh when she reveals me. She's got a way about her. I don't know what it is, but I know